Well, let's talk the review.
Okay.
So there's an odd one there, Steve, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone can spot the odd one out in the.
I'm pointing.
So yeah, I mean, guys, can we remember back to last winter? It's just so much happened this year, isn't there? You know,
Yeah.
But last winter was very good in Essex. There was lots to see, including this ringneck duck that you can see in the middle of the picture there. That was at Abberton.
This one here, isn't it?
Yep.
Can you see my mouse?
It was one of two birds that were at Abberton last winter, which hung around for a few months. And
weren't they going between Abberton and Old Hall for a bit, I think, weren't they?
yeah, they did commute around a little bit.
Yeah.
So one of the birds was ringed as well, which was interesting.
Interesting. Had some overwinterers as well, didn't we? Out at Abberton. Now you mentioned Abberton.
Yeah, obviously not too many waxwings, but this swallow was a bit of a shock discovery on January the 1st, flying around the Causeway and Wigborough Bay. I don't think anyone did to see a swallow on the 1st of Jan. And quite amazingly, this bird could be seen flying around with a black-throated diver in the background, which was just slightly
Wow.
weird.
So I was a bit quick there. So this is equally a surprise. Howard, this is more on your turf, London side.
Yeah, it's the first winter. So a young turtle dove spent a good bit of January and into February in Valentine's Park in Ilford, which was my park where I used to go at lunchtime from school in Ilford. And it's nice to know that there's still interesting things turning up there. So a good bird.
Very good bird, as was this.
Yeah, this Siberian chiffchaff that was spent a little while at Fingringhoe Sewage Works, a little bit of an underwatched site just near Fingringhoe Wick. And this Siberian chiffchaff that Sean Nixon took a shot of was mixing around with other common chiffchaffs. So good comparison between the two species. So good bird to see in Essex nowadays.
Yeah. And then there was a black red start. Where was this? This was Alf Mullins up your one of your places, Matt. Where you?
Yeah, that was seen down at the Hive. That stayed around for several days actually. I think I managed to go and see it on the second or third day after it had been reported, but it was very mobile around there's an electric substation there, and it was very mobile around the wall and hanging around with the pied wagtails. So yeah, really showy little bird.
Brilliant.
There was about 3 of those wintering in the Lee Valley as well.
Was there?
Yeah.
Very good.
Excellent.
And
Traditionally a bird of London, aren't they? Black red star.
Oh yeah.
And then out at Abberton, bit of a focus on Abberton now, Steve.
Yeah, again, Abberton had a bit of a run. You know, I mean, it's a great inland site, but
Through them.
yeah, the last few years. So long-tailed ducks, there were 3 present last winter, which was really good, as well as smew. So they arrived about November time, right the way through till March. It's nice redhead here.
Are they still up on the Lee Valley as well, Howard?
There's been none this winter at all. There's a resident female bird on 70 Acres Lake, and she's been knocking around the area for a few years now. But there hasn't actually been a wintering one at this end of the year yet. And I think there was only a pair at the first half of the year. I think our winters are just too mild now that they're not really moving in the way they used to.
Yeah, shame. Cracking bird, particularly the male.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the other thing is obviously the beginning of the year, people start new lists and year lists. And so I certainly do. And this is what this screen represents, because there's 2 particular, 3 actual mediums you could use to record, which you want to encourage you to do. One is our Essex Birdwatching Society website, but also the Birdwatching Society have just endorsed 2 other platforms, BirdTrack and eBird, because we now get data through from them into the society for the Essex records. And so we want to encourage people, particularly if you get a new smartphone for Christmas, they've got apps as well to look into that and start recording. You can actually record in the field, and it's certainly I find it really useful. So But at the beginning of the year, everybody, well, some people, are you out and off January the 1st for your big list, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a bit of fun, isn't it? Just a bit of fun. Just see what we can see how many you can get on the 1st of Jan.
First day.
Yeah.
Normally working, so but do normally get a circuit in, but not this year.
As you can. Well, this is always nice on the list, isn't it? Lesser spotted woodpecker.
Yeah, and that was at Thames Chase. That was, so that's a good.
Nice.
Not an easy bird to see nowadays in Essex.
Another declining one. I used to hear them from my garden. Cracking picture of this yellowhammer.
Oh, it's astonishing.
South Essex Marshes area, Bowers Marsh by Graham's. And again, want to in advance thank all the people who have contributed photographs via the website or through to Howard and others. Fantastic contribution.
Lovely.
Beauty, eh, Matt?
Yeah, beauty.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
That's Raynham as well, isn't it?
Yeah, we had at least 3 wintering in the first winter, and I think there was 6 or 7 other sites in Met Essex that had them, which is actually normal for us now. And occasionally there's 1 or 2 sites where they actually linger and breed as well, which is good.
Great shot, Steve Knox. That's off.
Wonderful.
And then this down the river.
Yeah. So gull wise, yeah, the Thames foreshore has always been good for gulls, and there were several first winter and an adult Iceland gull in the first part of the year. This first year was actually down at Creekmouth, which is sort of where the River Roding goes into the Thames, and Russ is one of the best photographers out there. But I think there was about half a dozen Caspian gulls most months. The actual numbers involved is always more than you think. And we had a couple of glaucs as well, I think, in an otherwise fairly quiet gull winter for the rest of the county.
Isn't there an outfall, sewage outfall down that way as well somewhere that's quite prolific? I noticed terns and things down there on a boat trip that I did down the river.
Yeah, the outfalls are basically done now in the Thames.
Right.
Because Tilbury Power Station is now gone, and that was the last one, really. So if we get things, they're often where the confluence is, where the rivers hit the river.
Yeah.
Rivers hit the Thames.
Where the Lee and the river and the Thames, yeah.
Or where somebody is using vast amounts of bread.
Very good. Now we got some ducks. We're back to that ferruginous duck.
Yeah.
Tell us about this, Steve, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, this one turned up sort of February time, I think. It was quite elusive, or from what I remember, although it seems a long time ago. But yeah, this one would often be asleep under the tree roots off the main causeway, Laia de la Haye Causeway. But occasionally it did come out, and so Sean Nixon got this wonderful shot of it in full view. Lovely chestnut brown bird. And so this is the other ring-necked duck. So the picture earlier was the first bird, and this is the second bird. This has got much duskier flanks than the other one. Again, does show occasionally.
And not dissimilar.
And then this nice male scaup, greater scaup, that David Curl got a shot of. So I think there were good numbers of scaup last winter. There's 1 or 2 around at the moment, so worth keeping your eyes out.
Worth looking through those tufted a second time, and we may well come back to this on an ID. We've had requests for ID type help and things, and we don't have the time tonight, but another time. Early white front.
Yeah, I mean, again, Abberton was sort of on fire in the winter. Stuart Anderson got this shot of the white front, and obviously we'll talk about white fronts and other geese a bit later.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a front runner.
Oh, and cattle egrets
at the moment.
Oh yeah, who'd have thought? Cattle egrets be everywhere. Yeah,
overwintering.
So I think in the first half of the winter there was certainly 2 or 3 within the Met Essex sector, and wintering in the Lee Valley, and I think South Essex marshes had 5, and there was, I think the first couple were seen around Abberton with the now perennial great whites as well.
Yeah.
Didn't
Amazing.
Steve? Didn't Abberton also have a green-winged teal in the January as well? I think
It did, I think. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
it was a full wildfowl month for January, February with Abberton.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I remember seeing that on New Year's Day, actually, now you mention it.
Yeah.
God, seems such a long time ago. Just crazy.
Yeah, lots happened since then.
Oh, yeah, one or two things. And
It's interesting.
yeah, this hen harrier, which if you have a careful look, you can see a little satellite pack on its back. So this one was from
carrying a backpack.
Yeah. So this one was, as far as I remember, it was ringed in Scotland up near Inverness, and it spent the winter around Abberton, and again often showed pretty well, which is
Lovely.
See the 4 fingers on the wings there.
Primaries, yeah.
Yeah. So for me down in my area along the Thames, and for those on the coast, we're looking for the weather and big tides, and we got that on January the 15th and February the 16th weekends, where big spring tides coincided with wind. And again, down towards the creek mouth and that way, Howard, when they put the Thames barrier up we get meters more water, as you can see here. For those of you that know Coalhouse Fort, have probably not seen that water stroke radar tower looking like that, nor the two forts route becoming kind of half a fort's route, because you're not going to be able to pass it along. This is about to breach, so if anybody's walking along there, be careful. It's not going to be replaced, and eventually the tide will actually flow into the field there. But these type of days really excite me because the salt marsh floods, there's already 20,000 waders around the area, and they don't have any mud to land on high tide, so they take to the air. So we get some fantastic murmurations of these dunlin. And if you walk from the fort towards the port there, DP World, 2 hours before high tide, 2 hours after is the peak time to be there. Between those times when the tide's up, and you see some spectacular murmurations. You don't need a telescope that you usually do to see the waders out on the mud. You can just go with your eyes and just enjoy.
Wow.
As the sky becomes blurred with these dunlin, and there's a few avocet there as well. But it's obviously helped as well when one of these turns up. This is one of the local peregrines. And then the birds will start bait balling. Almost like kind of those schools of fish when sharks attack. It's an amazing sight. But they do sometimes bite off more than they can chew. So you like that? There's another "Have I Got News for You" moment tonight.
I like that. That's good.
Caption, what's the headline, guys?
Ooh,
Locked and loaded for me, that one.
I like that. That's good.
Who remembers that? Matt, Steve?
Oh, blimey.
Oh, crikey.
That was, I think that was the last field trip that we did with the society back in, was it January or February?
February.
Middle of Feb.
Yeah, before the lockdown.
Storm Dennis.
Oh, yeah, Wallasey. And I think there was a brave 8 of us. And then we, who was it who turned up? Was it Richard turned up as well?
Stanley, yeah.
Yeah, so we met up with him. So there's 9 of us in the end. And all I remember really is getting very, very wet and then having an excellent lunch in the cafe afterwards.
Yeah, that was good. That was the highlight.
And again, just a note that we did used to run walks and coach trips and things like that, but obviously this year such is. But all being well, next year we'll be out again.
Yeah, back stronger and better.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
So this is another lesser spot. This is the Shut Heath Wood, where there's regularly a lesser spot. So those of you that are looking to see lesser spots around lesser spotted woodpecker, tipped you off in a couple of places you can visit, and before the leaves get on the trees. It's a nice shot from Stanford Warren, another underwatched little reserve near the big Thameside Nature Park. Bearded tits are seen there.
Yep. Oh, spring migrant.
Yeah, one of the first.
Yeah, so this was little ring plover on the Layer de la Haye causeway at Abberton that David Allen saw. Yeah, that was
March.
Yeah, middle of March, I think it was, mid-March sort of time. And then the same day, I think it was the same day, this turned up, which was absolutely stunning. You can't.
Really early, really bright.
Yeah, and then from what I remember after that, it all went slightly downhill. So
Yeah.
Aha.
Not before these though.
not before those. No, of course, the white storks.
Tell us, Howard, what's the story?
So these two NEP Park reintroduction scheme white storks had a several days roaming between TTMP, so Thurrock Thameside Nature Park, and Rainham. We've seen at one or two places in between, and they've sort of gone from a super rare spring migrant to the last couple of years we expect to see them along the Thames corridor in the spring now, which is great. I have no problem at all with the NEP White Stork project. I think it's great, and if they start moving around in ones and twos and groups, then it's gives hope that they might settle in other places as well.
Yeah,
That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it?
fabulous bird, isn't it?
There was quite a few other early bits as well, like got a little jiffy there. But there were some early ospreys in March as well. I think the first one was on the 6th over Upminster, and I think there was others down along the Thames before the end of the month as well. So birds were definitely on the move quite early this year. I think the first common term was the 21st as well.
Yeah,
So,
crazy.
Yeah, this particular chiffchaff, I took this in local Linford Wood, and it had lots of, I don't know if I can see, I'll zoom in a little bit, lots of pollen around its beak, black pollen, which I'm not sure that's from this hazel. It's more of a yellow. It's got the yellow as well, but actually it was catching flies because I got another shot of it with a fly in its mouth. But I've often heard, particularly those that ring birds and find them, that they find these chippers that have come in from the continent with the black pollen around their beaks and seeds and stuff.
I think the pollen actually then sticks to them, and then they get dust stuck to it as well, which is why it ends up dark.
Ends up black, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely to see. Good, yeah. So that takes us through to lockdown, and then the world changed a bit, and we had to change how we birded, didn't we?
Yes, we all did.
And furlough came.
A very different world.
It became a very different world.